The Las Vegas Raiders just got their full 2025 NFL schedule. And let's just say, not everyone's happy about it. Some fans believe the Raiders got the short end of the stick. Too much travel, odd timings, not exactly a dream setup. And honestly, they might have a point. Let's break it down. Now, sure, we already knew which teams the Raiders would face this year, but the when makes all the difference. Is it a back-to-back East Coast grind? Do we get a fair balance of home and away games? Or are we looking at an uphill climb before the bye week? The details are finally here, and the timing could make or break this season. We also got a peek at the preseason matchups: Seahawks 49ers, Cardinals. We don't have confirmed dates yet, but what's more interesting is whether the starters will play at all. Under past leadership, we saw guys like Josh Jacobs and even Max Crosby suit up in preseason, something many teams avoid. Will the new staff risk it again, or will they play it safe? No matter what, preseason is just the warm up. The real story begins when the lights come on. Before we dive deeper into this schedule breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and don't forget to tap that bell icon so you never miss the latest Raiders updates. Now let's get back to the action. So here's the primetime spotlight for the Silver and Black, Week 2. Raiders host the Chargers on Monday Night Football Week 10, a Thursday night road game in Denver against the Broncos. Week 11, another Monday Night Football matchup, this time against the Cowboys. That's 3 primetime games already locked in, but don't rule out Week 17 and 18 just yet. The NFL often flexes big matchups into Saturday or Sunday night slots late in the season. So we could see up to 5 primetime showdowns if things break our way. Now, let's talk about the part that's stirring up frustration among Raider Nation: the travel. The Raiders are opening their season on September 7th in Foxborough to take on the Patriots. That's a coast-to-coast trip right out of the gate. And that's just the start. Let's talk about one brutal stretch in the Raiders' 2025 schedule, one that's already raising eyebrows. In Week 1, the Raiders kick off the season with a tough road game, flying across the country to face the Patriots in Foxborough. That's nearly 2,700 miles from home. After that long haul, they'll race back to Vegas for a high-stakes Monday Night Football showdown against the Chargers in Week 2. Barely catching their breath, the Silver and Black then hit the skies again, this time to take on the Washington Commanders on the East Coast in Week 3. That's 3 games in 15 days with over 10,000 miles of travel packed in. Not ideal, especially for a West Coast team. The time zone shift, the fatigue, the recovery, all of it matters. Historically, West Coast teams don't fare well when they're sent east again and again. It's not just speculation, it's a proven challenge. And the grind doesn't stop there. Just 2 weeks later, the Raiders are back on the road, this time heading to Indianapolis to battle the Colts. In just 5 weeks, Las Vegas will have flown across the country 3 separate times. That's not a schedule. That's a test of endurance. But here's the good news. The Raiders are built to punch back. The Patriots may have a promising young quarterback in Drake May, but he's still raw. This isn't a playoff-ready team, and the Raiders should absolutely aim to control that game from start to finish. Then comes the home opener against the Chargers, another matchup the Raiders can win. Despite the hype around Justin Herbert, the Chargers haven't proven they can turn talent into results. And with new systems and changes in LA, they're vulnerable. Week 3 brings Washington, a team that shocked many last season with a deep playoff run. But second-year coaches often stumble, and that Cinderella magic rarely strikes twice. The Raiders will know this and come ready. So yeah, no, the travel is relentless. The schedule is unforgiving. But if the Raiders can navigate the early turbulence, they could be in a very strong position before midseason even hits. Let's be honest, when you look at the Raiders' schedule, there's one word that keeps popping up: opportunity. In Week 3, they face the Commanders, a team that shocked the league last year, but don't expect a repeat. We've seen this story before. Just look at Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals. Early flashes of brilliance followed by sudden drop-offs. Once defenses catch on, that magic fades. The Commanders could be heading down the same path. That's great news for the Raiders. Now, fast forward to Week 4, Chicago comes to Vegas. Caleb Williams might be the Bears' future, but he's still a second-year quarterback figuring things out. That's another game the Raiders should circle as a must-win at home. Yes, there's a lot of travel early in the season. The team will fly to Indianapolis in Week 5. But there's a silver lining here. These road games are spaced out just enough to allow recovery and game planning. And if Las Vegas can stay focused, they could emerge from this cross-country grind with a winning record. Think about it. 4 East Coast games in 7 weeks. If the Raiders finish that stretch at 4-3 or even 5-2, they won't just survive, they'll set the tone for the season. And when you stack this schedule up, something stands out. Aside from the Chiefs, a divisional rival, and the Eagles, there isn't a single team that feels untouchable. The Bills, Ravens, and Eagles, those are the only true juggernauts. And guess what? Only one of them is on the Raiders' early schedule. That means the door is wide open for Las Vegas to build momentum early. They won't be underdogs in most of these matchups. In fact, in several of them, they might be favored. The real question is, can the Raiders take advantage of this window and prove they belong in the playoff conversation? Even if the Raiders hit a few bumps early on, there's no reason to panic. Let's say the worst case scenario happens. Losses to the Patriots, Chargers, Commanders, and Chiefs, but wins over the Bears, Colts, and Titans. That puts Las Vegas at 3-4 going into the Week 8 bye. Not ideal, but far from a disaster. And here's where things get interesting. After that October 19th game against the Chiefs, the Raiders get plenty of time to reset. They don't play again until November 2nd. And even then, just 4 days later, they're back on the field for Thursday Night Football. Tough, absolutely, but look at the upside. Before that stretch, they'll have nearly 2 full weeks off. And after Thursday night, the Raiders don't play again until Monday Night Football on November 17th. That's another mini bye right there. All of this gives Las Vegas a real advantage. Time to recover, time to prep, and time to attack the second half of the season. And when you look at the opponents after the bye, most of them are beatable. The Jaguars are solid, but not unstoppable. The Broncos game is in Denver, which makes it tricky, but still winnable. Then there's Dallas, a strong team, but with problems of their own, cap space issues, and uncertainty around guys like George Pickens. By mid-November, who knows if he's even on the field? Cleveland is a mess at quarterback. The Chargers game will be at home. Another big edge for the Raiders. And Denver again? By then, the Raiders could be rolling. That's 6 games after the bye. And every single one of them is winnable. Now let's talk about the big one. The Eagles. They're the reigning Super Bowl champs. No denying that, but imagine this. The Raiders enter that game 8-4. That matchup turns into one of the most electric games of the season. And if the Raiders win, it's not just a statement. It's proof they belong. The Raiders will face the Eagles in Philly, but don't be surprised if Raider Nation shows up big. There are plenty of Raiders fans in and around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. That game could feel like a battle in enemy territory, but with a home crowd twist. Then it's the final stretch. Texans, Giants, and the Chiefs. That last game against the Chiefs, it's at home, which is a huge advantage. And depending on how things go, it could be massive for playoff hopes. Here's why. If the Chiefs have already locked up the number 1 seed, they might rest their starters. That's exactly what happened with the Broncos last year. Kansas City sat their starters and basically handed Denver a win. The same thing could happen again, this time with the Raiders as the lucky ones. Or it could be a winner-takes-all for the division. Either way, playing that game at Allegiant Stadium makes a difference. Now let's zoom out. Some fans might say, we've been here before, it looks good on paper, but we always fall short. And yeah, that's fair. The past decade has had its share of letdowns. In fact, this might be the most complete Raiders roster we've had in the last 10 to 15 years. The only stretch that compares? Maybe 2016 to 2017, when the team looked like it was finally on the rise. But then came the coaching shakeups and the rebuild under Gruden. This year, the Raiders aren't just rebuilding, they're reloaded. If Caleb Rogers steps in and plays solid at left guard, doesn't have to be elite, just top 30. And if DJ Glaze holds up at right tackle, then this offensive line could quietly become one of the best surprises in the league. This year, the Raiders have it all. A solid offensive line, explosive weapons, a quarterback who fits the system, and a dangerous defensive line. On paper, this team can win 10, maybe even 12 games. Let's talk best case scenario. Say the Raiders beat the Patriots, Chargers, Commanders, Bears, Colts, and Titans. Maybe we lose to the Chiefs. Fair. But then we turn around and beat the Jaguars, Give the Broncos a win in Denver and still grab victories over the Cowboys, Browns, and maybe even split with the Chargers. Even if we drop games to the Eagles, Texans, and Chiefs, that still puts us at a realistic 11-6 or 12-5 finish. That's a legit playoff run. Why is this possible? Because this year's schedule is way easier than what we've had in the past. And there's another factor: young quarterbacks. Most teams we face this year are starting rookies or second year QBs. Think about it. The Patriots, Commanders, Bears, Titans, Colts, Broncos, Browns, Giants all have unproven quarterbacks. Even Dallas might move on from Dak Prescott. Don't be shocked if someone like Joe Milton takes over there. Sure, CJ Stroud in Houston is legit, but outside of teams like the Chiefs, Eagles, and Chargers, the Raiders will have plenty of favorable QB matchups. That means it's on Patrick Graham and the defense to take advantage, confuse these young QBs, create pressure, and get turnovers. We've also made smart moves. The offensive line is rebuilt, the defensive front is upgraded with guys like Adam Butler and Malcolm Kuntz, and the team moved on from overpriced players. That was the right call. If Geno Smith can play smart football, and if Chip Kelly can keep this offense moving, then why not us? Look at the Commanders last year. 2 years ago, they were at the bottom of the league. A season later, they're deep in the playoffs. The Raiders could absolutely follow that same path. What do you think? How many games can the Raiders win this season? Is the schedule favorable or not? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Raiders talk. Let's ride, Raider Nation.